Hello everyone, my name is Robius and welcome to a new episode of Assassin's Creed The Real History. In this series, I compare events in a selected character's life within one of the Assassin's Creed games to the actual history the individual lived through. As always, beware of major story spoilers. For today's episode, we'll be taking a look at the history of the son of Pope Alexander VI, Cesare Borgia. As is customary, I'll begin this episode by sharing with you his pre-game history, which will inform us on his background prior to ACB, then his in-game history, which we see depicted in the game, and lastly, we will analyze the differences between what happens in the game to the real historical events of the man's life. Starting with the pre-game history, due to the illegitimate nature of his birth, Cesare Borgia was either born on September 13th, 1475, or perhaps in April of 1476 in the city of Rome. His parents were Rodrigo Borgia, or as he was later known, Pope Alexander VI, and his long-term mistress prior to the papacy, Vanozza de Catani. Cesare had multiple siblings through his father's affairs, however, his direct siblings were Lucrezia, Giovanni, or Juan as he was also known, and Goffredo Borgia. As stated earlier, in reason of his technically illegitimate childhood, since his father was supposed to have taken an oath of chastity as a cardinal, there has been some confusion on whether Cesare or Giovanni was the eldest son in the family. Nevertheless, following his birth, he was raised by his mother, but thanks to his father's position and wealth, he and his siblings were very well educated and taken care of, since the soon-to-be pope had large plans for his children. The reason why certain historians believe that Giovanni was the eldest son was because he was prepared for a more military-based career, while Cesare was groomed to follow in his father's footsteps in the church. However, this cannot be considered a confirming fact. Following his education and his preparation for the position, due to his father's influence, Cesare was made the Bishop of Pamplona when he was only 15 years old. This type of nepotism became clearly evident through the Borgia children's lives. As a bishop, Cesare continued his education in Perugia and Pisa, studying at the Sapienza University of Rome. Certain historians believe that it was while in university that Cesare met Micheletto Corella, who would later become known as Valentino's executioner. However, I'll elaborate on that a little later. When finishing his education, Cesare's father was appointed the new Pope of the Catholic Church. This affected his son directly when the Pope brazenly created 12 new seats in the College of Cardinals and gave one to Cesare, who was only 18 years old. His brother, Giovanni, was made Captain General of the Papal Armies, and it is claimed that he and Cesare had a bitter rivalry. Following a few years of service in the church, Giovanni was assassinated in 1479. They searched for his murderer, but did not find him. Only years later was it suspected that Cesare might have killed his own brother. The reasons for this theory vary from wanting Giovanni's position as Captain General to them having a jealous rivalry over a woman, Sanja of Aragon, who was the wife of their younger brother, Goffredo. After the search for Giovanni's murderer ended and his period of mourning had passed, on August 17th, 1498, Cesare Borgia became the first person in history to resign as a cardinal. Cesare then aided the new French king, Louis XII of France, by allowing him to divorce his wife legally in the eyes of the church, and in return he was made the Duke of Valentinois. On May 10th, 1499, Cesare married Charlotte d'Albâtre, a wealthy Frenchwoman who was the sister of King John III of Navarre. In 1500, they would have a daughter named Louise Borgia, Duchess of Valentinois, with her being Cesare's only legitimate child, since he would have approximately 11 illegitimate children in his lifetime. However, back in 1499, King Louis XII of France invaded Italy and attacked Milan, ousting its ruler Ludovico Sforza. Cesare joined the king as he entered Milan, and following this success, the Pope promoted Cesare to Captain General of the Papal Armies. During this period, Cesare was blamed of having an incestuous relationship with his sister, Lucrezia Borgia. There is no official record of such a thing taking place, but Assassin's Creed Brotherhood clearly demonstrated it as a fact. In reality, this entire suspicion is somewhat increased when considering that Lucrezia's second husband, Alfonso d'Aragon, was supposedly killed by a jealous Cesare, although once again, there wasn't any definitive proof, even though many historians believed it to be fact. Historically, at this point, he began his campaigns with the goal of conquering Romagna in the name of the papacy. It was at this point where we first met Cesare in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Although the scenario in Monteriggioni, where he conquered the city in vengeance for the assassin's actions in Rome, was fictional, he did lead many military campaigns in this time. At the very beginning, Cesare had 300 horsemen and 4,000 Swiss infantrymen at his disposal. The Pope sent him to capture the cities of Imola and Forli, which were ruled by Caterina Sforza in late 1500. Following a long, bloody battle where Caterina and her forces locked themselves in their fortress and held out against Cesare's troops for nearly a week, the Borgia Duke was successful. Unfortunately, Caterina lost her fiefdoms and was later imprisoned in the Castel Sant'Angelo, much as was seen in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Using more funds gathered from his new cardinals, the Pope managed to further fund Cesare's army, which permitted him to systematically conquer the remaining towns in Romagna, such as Rimini and Pesaro, among others, until he was able to officially receive the titles of the Duke of Romagna and Gonfaloniere of the Church. Cesare left his most trusted commander, Micheletto Corella, in charge of the conquered cities, while he moved on to new campaigns. The historical depiction of Micheletto as Cesare's butcher was well showcased in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, as he both carried out assassinations for his master, while also leading some of his military forces. As Cesare's military prowess grew, he captured or attacked many other cities, including Naples, Capua, Camerino, and Urbino. He had plans for conquering Bologna, but some of his generals had begun to plot against him due to what they considered was his unrequired cruelty. Unfortunately for them, Cesare learned of their treason and invited them for a reconciliation. When they arrived, he had them imprisoned and subsequently executed. It was also in this time period where Cesare was accompanied by Niccolò Machiavelli, who was representing Florence while serving the Duke. However, prior to leaving, after a year of service, Machiavelli made a note that Cesare's greatest weakness was his dependency on the papacy for success. In 1502, Leonardo da Vinci came under his employment as a military architect and engineer until 1503. However, he never built Cesare any of his war machines. Instead, he produced for him some strategic maps and architectural designs to improve the defenses of some of his cities. In 1503, while planning his conquest of Tuscany, Cesare received news that the Pope, his father, had died. Apparently, this took place following a meal where they had both become ill, and Cesare was supposedly saved by a harsh procedure. Following the succession of a new pope, Pius III, Cesare was reconfirmed as Gonfaloniere of the Church, and therefore he planned to continue his military campaigns unopposed. Unfortunately for the Borgia Duke, this new supportive pope died after a 26-day rule. The new pope who replaced him was Julius II, formerly known as Cardinal Giuliano della Rovere, the arch-rival of Rodrigo Borgia and the entire Borgia family. Cesare tried to ease the tension between them, but to no avail. He was betrayed and arrested by Gonzalo Fernandez de Cordoba in Naples, under the command of the Pope, and his lands and title were retaken by the papacy. In 1504, he was transferred to a prison in Spain at the castle of Chinchilla Monte Aragon, where he attempted to escape, and therefore he was transferred to the castle of La Motta, where he successfully managed to escape with aid from his allies. After traveling to friendly lands, he met on December 3, 1506 with King John III of Navarre and took command of his military forces. Under this king, he recaptured the city of Viana, but was not able to enter its castle as the defending knights had locked themselves in. The knights within later tried to escape, and Borgia chased them with some men, only to be ambushed. It is claimed that he was fatally injured by a spear in this confrontation. His body was later discovered by his troops. Evidently, this is different than Cesare's death in ACB, where Ezio dropped him off of the wall of the Viana castle. Historically, however, Cesare was buried in Navarre and was honored by his allied leader. In summary, the differences between Cesare's actual life and his representation in AC Brotherhood were as follows. Firstly, ACB depicted him as conquering the city of Monteriggioni, killing Mario Auditori, and taking back the Apple of Eden, none of which happened historically. Secondly, and I suppose this may be connected to the first difference, but the game showed Cesare capturing Caterina Sforza at Monteriggioni while she was trying to establish an alliance with Ezio, when in reality she was captured in her town of Forli while defending it from Cesare. Thirdly, although there were suspicions of his incest with his sister, these were never confirmed historically. Fourthly, although Leonardo da Vinci was employed by the Borgia Duke, at no point did he actually build any of his planned war machines as was shown in ACB. Fifthly, although certain historians believe Cesare may have killed the Pope with poison, it seems rather unlikely since he too was affected by the illness, nearly leading to his death, and it would not have made sense to kill the Pope since it was from him that he received all his funds. Sixthly, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood showed Cesare arrested while in Rome, when in reality he was arrested in Naples. However, it made for an interesting scene when Orsini read out his charges.
Cesare Borgia.
Micheletto's troops mass behind me. We will take back my city once and for all.
This is not your city anymore.
By order of Pope Julius II, I arrest you, Cesare Borgia, for the crimes of murder, betrayal, and incest.
No! 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 This is not how it ends!
Lastly, ACB depicted Cesare as being killed by Ezio when he was dropped off the walls of Viana, when in reality he was slain by some of the city's knights when he tried to impede their escape. And with that final fact, we have finished another episode of Assassin's Creed The Real History. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, I highly recommend you try out one of the Assassin's Creed games. Thank you all for watching. Please leave any suggestions for future characters from any of the Assassin's Creed games that you'd like me to cover in the comment section below. I've really appreciated the subscriber participation in this, and I love getting all these suggestions for new characters to look up. Please rate, comment, and subscribe for new videos, and I'll see you all for a future historical episode.